What's going on YouTube? It's Tej back again with another video, and today we're continuing our Madden 21 rebuild series on the channel, and today we're talking about the Indianapolis Colts. This should be a fun one. This is a team I'm not so high on in real life, so my power rankings, I'll have it come up somewhere on the screen, but kind of talked a little bit in there. I'm not crazy about this roster in real life, where they're at right now, but now I get the chance to turn the ship around and take Indy back to the NFL's highest point and win them a Super Bowl. If you haven't seen any of the videos, we've been going in alphabetical order, so there is a playlist. You can go check out some of those rebuilds if you are interested. But without further ado, let's take a look at this roster. So here's a look at the depth chart. Before we get into that, I want to say hopefully you all enjoyed today's video. If you do, hit that like button. It would help me out a ton. And if you're new to the channel, want more sports content in your life, please consider subscribing to my channel. And let me know down in the comment section, do you think the Colts will win? Not can they, but will they win a Super Bowl in the next 3 to 5 years? I'm eager to hear your thoughts. I respond to all comments, so if you think so, let me hear why. We can have a good, fruitful discussion about it. Also, if you're new to this series, I will basically simulate through 4 regular seasons, and then I will be very active in the 3 off seasons you'll see, making moves in the draft and free agency. Pretty straightforward, but with all that aside, here is a look at the team. Been moving around. I get really annoyed with the hold to reorder. It comes up so fast. But anyways, Carson Wentz, he's the big storyline in Indianapolis. What does he look like? Is he able to get back to where he was in 2017? I'm unconvinced. Probably close to that 2019 form. I think he'll be a little bit better than he was last year, though. Obviously, working with Frank Reich, that goes a long way. And hey, he's got a decent amount of weapons around him. I'm not in love with a lot of the moves. They also signed Eric Fisher, so I guess I need to do that. I'm using the same roster I've been using in these rebuilds, and I guess Eric Fisher has not been updated or a part of those new rosters. But anyways, I can take care of that. Running backs are obviously really, really solid. I mean, Jonathan Taylor, Marlon Mack, he's coming back for a super cheap price point, and then Nyheim Hines. And then the wide receivers is where it gets a little confusing. I'm going to go ahead and bump Michael Pittman up to, well, wide receiver 1, because as of right now, he is their wide receiver 1, and that'll move Zach Pascal down to the slot, maybe. T.Y. Hilton, I guess, still playing on the outside. I also might have an idea of a move we could make that I deem to be realistic, because that's the way I try to treat these rebuilds, but it might be a good move for us to improve our wide receiver core. I mentioned I need to add Eric Fisher, but he is hurt to begin this upcoming season. Quentin Nelson is probably the best guard in football. Ryan Kelly, one of the better centers. Glanowski's gotten better over time. Braden Smith, a very good right tackle. And then a couple of good tight ends to go along with it. And then this team's real strength is on the defensive side of the ball. Could get better, I guess, at the inside linebacker spot, but Darius Leonard, it's kind of unbelievable. He's only got star dev. Bobby Okereke, he's a pretty solid player. DeForest Buckner, one of the best, maybe the best pass rushing D tackle in the league. Probably not the best because, Aaron Donald exists, and then Chris Jones. But, Buckner's in that top 5 area. First round pick, Kwity Paye, high expectations for him. And then you look at the cornerback group, it's not great, but it could be a whole lot worse. Kenny Moore, primarily a slot guy, but that still leaves us Rock Ya-Sin with star dev and Xavier Rhodes on the outside. Could get better at the safety position, specifically strong safety. Justin Blackman was fantastic as a rookie last year, but only normal dev kind of hurts. And then, even Willis was not too bad. So maybe I'm stretching out a little bit too far on that take. But here is a look at the specialists, at least as of now. These could certainly change. But Paye, we want to make sure he's a rush and sub linebacker. We want that to be Darius Leonard. We mentioned Moore is going to be our slot corner, and Pascal our slot wide receiver. Nyheim Hines makes sense. He's one of the best third down backs in the league. Jonathan Taylor, a power back, and he is very good at being just that. So I mentioned earlier I'd love to make a move for a wide receiver, and I think the Colts would be crazy not to be going after Julio Jones. I'm also going to have to make one more trade. Right now, the rosters show the Colts having both their first and second round pick. Carson Wentz is going to play 75+% of our snaps. I have injuries off, so I'm going to send that first round pick off to the Eagles to keep this as realistic as possible. So I could have made this a second round pick, but we're throwing in a couple of players. Rock Ya-Sin, one with star dev, and then our starting left end as of right now. This is going to be probably something that doesn't go through because the Falcons and Madden haven't deemed themselves ready to trade Julio Jones. Also, that cap hit is nowhere near right, but I don't know what that's about. But the Falcons in real life are looking to trade Julio, and I'd love to add him here in our rebuild. I think the Colts should do that in real life. Oh my gosh, that offer actually went through. Maybe Madden is aware of what's going on, but there is the offer, a third round pick, starting edge rusher in Lewis, and then Probably a corner that's, somebody the Colts would like to keep, but we have TJ Carey who will start at the outside corner position, and it'll become a position we try to address moving forward. But now we have Julio Jones on the roster. Let's go. And I just wanted to show this real quick. This is me honoring what I said, giving up my first round pick, and I'm getting a 7th back, but our first round pick is on its way to Philadelphia. Also, with the addition of Julio Jones, Zach Pascal kind of becomes expendable. There's no teams with any interest, which is kind of just mind-blowing to me. He's a 75 overall. But to me, I was trying to look at teams that could use a wide receiver, and obviously the Saints don't have $103 million in cap room. I don't know what's going on with this roster. It's the first time I've noticed this being a problem, but I'll have to take note of that moving forward. But I could see a world where the Saints might have interest in a wide receiver that becomes available. Couldn't get it done for a 4th round pick. Really, I'm just trying to get any sort of value, and I think the Colts would try to move on from Pascal if they were to acquire Julio Jones. We get a 5th round pick, nothing great, but it's a little bit of something. So real quick, just wanted to show you an updated look at the offense. We signed Eric Fisher, we add Julio Jones, let's go. Michael Pittman, wide receiver 2, T.Y. Hilton is now going to become our slot wide receiver, but that should be everything. And now we're going to go ahead and simulate to the midseason point. So coming off of a 2-point win against the Detroit Lions, we are 5-2 as we reach week 9 in a matchup against the Baltimore Ravens. Also, we had somebody part of the weekly awards. Yes, Kenny Moore, 12 tackles and a pick. You love to see it. In our AFC South counterpart, Ryan Tannehill, also on that list. So the team is looking pretty good so far. Let's go ahead and look at the division. Currently tied for the lead with the Tennessee Titans and the Texans 0-7. LOL. That's kind of funny. Here's a look at the stats in the season. The offense isn't great in regards to yards, and Carson Wentz's numbers are, fine. 13th in defensive yards. That's interesting. We must be a pretty good scoring team. Yeah, we're efficient when it comes to putting points on the board. 9th when it comes to our offense. 17th in defense, which is interesting. And Julio Jones' numbers also aren't all that great. Interesting. Just went ahead and bought some expert scouting. Hopefully that'll help us out once we get to the NFL draft time. But we're 5-2. We're going to go ahead and simulate to the playoffs, which I have a hard time thinking we won't be involved in. Practice players signed. We missed the playoffs. We're coming off a loss to the Jags, and we absolutely collapsed. We were 5-2, finished the season on a 2-7 stretch. Come on, man. That is such an L. I'm not entirely sure I have words to describe that level of disappointment. The offense was not great. We had the worst defense in regards to yards. That's got to be a playbook thing. There's just no shot. That defense is good enough. 21st in regards to points scored, 24th in points allowed. Come on, there is just absolutely no way. Carson Wentz was, fine. Pretty decent touchdown to interception ratio. I'd like to see him crack 4,000 yards, and you'd like to get the QB rating up and above 100. Jonathan Taylor wasn't necessarily super efficient, but 10 touchdowns, not too bad. Nyheim Hines also had 4. Carson Wentz with 3 as well. Julio Jones, 1,000-yard season. Only 4 touchdowns, though. It's kind of weird. And then Paris Campbell, he was wide receiver 4. That's concerning. But he comes away with 9 touchdowns, almost 800 yards. Michael Pittman, pretty decent second season. I'd be happy to see him do that in real life. And then, where's T.Y. Hilton? 5 catches, 57 yards. I have injuries off, so I don't know what happened there. And for the offensive line, Eric Fisher absolutely sold, giving up 16 sacks this year. Nobody else gave up more than 5. We have 4 players. I have not seen something like this. 4 players with 100-plus tackles. 2 of them are corners, so that's not good. But in that cover 2 defense that they play in real life, not that Madden's accounting for this, they're going to be in and around the line of scrimmage. So, it's not too bad. But Darius Leonard, Bobby Okereke, they're 2 very solid linebackers, and Darius Leonard's one of the best to do it. Grover Stewart leads the way in tackles for loss. Deo Odengbo, not far behind our second-round pick from last year. DeForest Buckner with 11, and I think Buckner led the team in sacks. He did with 10.5. Not a whole lot of other players with production. Kwity Paye with just 2. Things you don't like to see. 5 interceptions for Darius Leonard. This is a defensive player of the year type of year. Same thing with Kenny Moore. Wow. Either one of those guys might come away with it. Xavier Rhodes with 2, Kari Willis with 1, and Marvell Tell the third with 1. Also earlier, I think I might have said Justin Blackman. Definitely messed that up. Julian Blackman. My apologies. And of course, the stud that is Rodrigo Blankenship. An okay season. Not great, but it was fine. Just wanted to quickly show the playoff picture if you care. Here's a look at the NFL. Wow, the Giants with the number 3 seed. That'd be sick to see in real life. The Bengals make it as a 6th seed. All right. You pause the video if you want to see more. I can't look at that. I can't believe what I'm seeing. Bengals and Packers in the Super Bowl. Interesting. Let's see if we had any crazy upsets. I know I didn't want to look at this anymore, but the Bengals made it all the way to the AFC Championship game. Let's go to take on the Browns, and they won. Wow, like the 6-seeded Bengals. Just absolute juggernauts in Madden. You'd love to see it. Joe Burrow, just an absolute stud. Let's go ahead and look at some of these yearly awards. NFL MVP goes to Josh Allen, something I think he could certainly win in the coming future, and I'm completely messing up, hitting all the wrong buttons. And his head coach, Sean McDermott, wins Coach of the Year. We are in the AFC, so we will show these awards instead of the NFC. I had to think about that for just a few moments. Teddy Bridgewater at 6. Man, oh man. No representation for the Colts. Defensive Player of the Year is Darius Leonard. That is awesome to see. Saw he got an upgrade point, so that's, you figure what you think that's for. No Kenny Moore, though. It's kind of weird. Offensive Rookie of the Year. We do have a Colt, Jonathan Taylor, just because this roster still has them as rookies. That's, ignore that. Kenneth Murray wins Defensive Rookie of the Year, not really. And then Dayo Odengbo comes in at 9th. Not too bad. Best quarterback goes to Cam Newton. Figure we won't see Carson Wentz. We don't. Best running back. We'll see if we see Taylor. We don't. Best wide receiver, Cole Beasley, just like everyone would predict. No Julio Jones there. Wow. Best offensive line, Quentin Nelson cracks the top 4. Best D-line, DeForest Buckner down here at 7. Best linebacker doesn't go to the Defensive Player of the Year in Darius Leonard. Instead, it goes to Kyle Van Noy, and even Von Miller edged out our guy Darius Leonard. Best DB, Kenny Moore finishes at 3rd behind Travis Ward and Joe Hayden. Best kicker, we are represented. Rodrigo made it at number 8. So that was definitely a not good season. Really strong start. Really disappointing end, and even with the awards, I wasn't happy to see that. But now we're gonna jump into the offseason. I'm gonna fix this roster. Packers come away with the Lombardi, beating the Bengals by a touchdown quickly. Here's a look at who retired at the end of the 2020 season. I saw Andrew Whitworth, something that probably will happen sooner rather than later. Jared Valdir, he's retired a few times in real life. And then Pete Carroll, Andy Reid, they always retire after year 1 of these franchises, and I don't know why. I totally forgot to show this at the midseason point. I didn't even negotiate with any of these players. Marlon Mack, we're going to go ahead and let him walk. It's unbelievable. He came back to play for $2.5 million in Indy. T.Y. Hilton, we're going to let him leave too. He's just too old. I'm not going to pay him $8 million a year. Mo Alley Cox, I'd be interested in bringing back, but I don't know about this contract. We already have Burton. I don't know. I'll think about it. We do have a ton of cap space, so Eric Fisher, I think we could get better there, even though he's not asking for a whole lot given that position. Yeah, you know what? Fine. He's got star dev. We'll make this offer to Mo Alley Cox. I'm also from the Richmond area, so he says no. But shout out to VCU, a school that has no football program, has produced an NFL player. Kind of wild. So we have reached free agency. We have a ton of cap space, so I'm not even going to bother worrying about combing through the roster and making cap room. We have an abundance of it. But unfortunately, not a great free agency class. That is kind of an L for us. So we have a fair amount of needs. We'll start with left tackle. Eric Fisher just gave up 16 sacks, so I'm definitely not bringing him back. Cam Robinson's here. He's only 1 overall higher, but as long as he doesn't have anything super glaring, run block finesse is kind of low. So I guess let me go look at Russell Okung and see who has the more balanced skill set, because the overall is pretty much the same. Run block power versus run block finesse. It's kind of a tough one. I think I'm going to go Cam Robinson. A little bit stronger. Also, he's exponentially younger, and I wouldn't mind signing him to a 2-year contract. This is a modest deal. It's kind of weird. These contracts are so low compared to what a left tackle would make on the open market at age 25, but, no complaints here. One of the big areas we can definitely improve this team is that middle linebacker. I'm not really crazy about these options, but Devondre Campbell, I guess, isn't too bad. Star dev, 28 years old. Definitely not giving him a 3-year contract, but this is a relatively small contract. It'll only be $5.31 million cap hit. So we'll make this offer to Campbell. We're his only team showing interest, so figure that we'll sign him pretty soon. Do need a couple of cornerbacks, and looks like there's some okay options. This is definitely something we'll probably address in the NFL draft. I kind of like Fabian Moreau's stats. He doesn't seem too bad. He's also only 27 years old. I'll keep it a 2-year contract, but so we'll have him for a year before regression and then a year after, which I guess isn't ideal, but not too bad. And then for a veteran's sake, let's go ahead and bring in Pat Peterson. And that cover 2 scheme, this might be a decent way, kind of like what the Colts did with Xavier Rhodes, to kind of prolong his career and find a different way for him to be, successful. That's not what comes down to being important in Madden, but he always plays really good in Madden, so it kind of evens out. And another area I think we can definitely get better is at wide receiver, specifically in the slot. Daniel Sanders would be kind of an interesting fit as a slot wide receiver with Pittman and Julio Jones on the outside. Tim Patrick, a big body slot, wouldn't be the end of the world. Antonio Brown could have some success, could bring back T.Y. Hilton, could bring back Zach Pascal, but we traded him, so I'm going to go somewhere else with this choice. But I'm going to go ahead and look over these options and try to find who might be the best one. So for those who don't know, I'm a Steelers fan, so this is kind of painful to do, but for a 1-year contract, I kind of like the idea of having him be our slot wide receiver next year. We're the only team showing interest, so let's see if we can bring AB to Indy. I do think this is a position we could address in the NFL draft, depending on, the depths of this upcoming class. So I advance to stage 2. We have an accepted contract from Cam Robinson, AB, Devondre Campbell, Patrick Peterson, and Fabian Moreau. I think that's everybody. I think we just went a clean 5 for 5, which is awesome. You'll love to see it. But that also leaves us with not a whole lot of other needs. I mean, I guess Kareem Jackson's a slight upgrade over Akari Willis. Willis is way younger, but I think we're about done. I might go sign a 4th corner and probably just a 4th corner. But we're going to waste a lot of this cap space, which is super unfortunate because it doesn't roll over in Madden like it does in real life. Here we go. Opportunity for me to get Levi Wallace on the squad. The zone coverage isn't great, which is not ideal for a cover 2, but he'll play for cheap, 77 overall. He's fine for corner number 4. There's also some other options, but yeah, I like Wallace. Also, just want to note, I updated Carson Wentz's contract. I'm not going to do that for every single player, as once we get into this, obviously contracts are going to expire and they're going to become more realistic. But Carson Wentz, to kind of lower our available cap space, felt like a reasonable one, and we have no other moves to make, so to kind of make it a little bit more realistic, or at least try to, I went ahead and fixed Wentz's contract. So as we move to stage 3, we have a 5th-year option for Quentin Nelson. No hesitation, we are picking it up. He's, like I said earlier, the best guard in football. Him and Zach Martin, go Irish. Best 2 guards in the NFL. Also, it should be noted, we have an accepted contract from Levi Wallace. Again, we don't have much to do, so next thing you'll see is the NFL draft. Check that. That was a lie. The next thing you're going to see is a free agency recap. Here are the players still available. Some okay options. Here were our signings: AB, Pat, Pete, Fabian Moreau, Levi Wallace, Cam Robinson, and Devondre Campbell. And then for the league signings, the Washington football team is bringing Rob Gronkowski to the nation's capital. Sign me up for it. Donta Hightower out to Cincy. Olivier Vernon is going to be the next defensive end that disappoints all Lions fans. Jarrell Casey going back to Denver. Interesting. Kalichi Osemele also going to Washington. Yeah, it wasn't a great free agency class. There's not a whole lot of mind-boggling moves. Trey Burton's actually on his way to Cincy, so good thing we kept Mo Alley Cox around. Oh, we didn't. What? Oh, he declined that contract. We still have Jack Doyle, though, so we could use a number 2 tight end, but dang it. I dropped the ball there. We needed one of those 2 tight ends. Anyways, let's ignore that and move on to the NFL draft. So because of the Carson Wentz trade, we don't have a first-round pick, as the Washington football team holds the number 1 overall pick. That's kind of weird. But we'll go ahead and simulate to round 2, pick number 14, where we are on the board. This is a randomly generated class. Christian Little adding to a crowded Lions backfield. But let's go ahead and take our first look at what the board looks like. I mean, we could get a quarterback, Raphael Walton. Interesting. Not really what I'm planning on doing here. Wouldn't hate edge. Could use the middle linebacker. I know we just signed one, but Ben Aiken looks like a damn stud. Okay. Definitely could use a corner. 3rd round value late first. Kind of slow. That makes me a little hesitant. Slot wide receiver that runs a 4.37 mid-first round talent. All right. Alexander Ford might have just caught my eye enough to earn his way onto the roster. But I'm going to go through who else is available and see what options we have. So really this pick comes down to Ben Aiken, late first round talent middle linebacker. Also 5'11", kind of small. So I'm going to go with Alexander Ford here. I like his size. He can play in the slot. 4.37 speed. Yeah, I think he's got to be our pick here. And Hayden Dev, number 14 player in the class. We took him at 46, 95 speed. Got to work on that medium route running, but let's go. This is a guy we need to get on the field ASAP. Sorry, Antonio Brown. And we're also down a 3rd round pick this year, which is unfortunate. That comes way of the Julio Jones trade, so we are simulating the 4th round. So we're in the 4th round. There's not a ton of great options. I think it's going to be Connor Clark or this Notre Dame corner, Max Aldridge. I think we can wait one more round for Aldridge. Did like his stats. I'm just going to go with the 2nd round talent, though. Clark's a late 2nd. Aldridge is an early 3rd, so there's not that much of a difference. But maybe Clark can find a way and get on the field. I'm not entirely sure, though. Dayo Odeyingbo was pretty productive. He actually outproduced Kwity Paye. The stats for Clark, though, not too bad. So here in the 5th round, it turns out that cornerback was taken. So it's rough hours for Teach here. We could go Cordell Holloway, just a future backup corner, 3rd round talent. Looks like that's probably our best route to take. So welcome to the organization. Where are you? Cordell Holloway, 5'9". You're kind of small, but hey, hidden dev. All right. This was automatically became a pretty decent pick. We'll take it. 91 speed. Pretty terrible coverage stats, but hey, over time, it'll get better, you think? And given what was left on the board, I'm just going to go ahead and hand it off to the computer for the rest of the draft. So the next thing you'll see is our draft recap. So Alexander Ford was our first selection. Can't wait to get him on the field. He looks like an absolute beast. 23 years old, a little old, but other than that, he's a stud. Connor Clark might be an okay rotation guy. Everybody else are just kind of projects to have along the way. In regards to the entire NFL, let's see how this draft class turned out. I'd say pretty good. Defensive tackle goes number 12. He's the highest rated player. Marquise Blackshear, also a fantastic name. Next highest overall, also a defensive tackle, goes at 15. Andre Morgan. So very heavy defensive front class. Then you get a linebacker in Barry Poole. Good value there for the Seahawks. Some more linebackers. A safety here that went number 8 to the Jets. Thomas Morgan. Okay. Good value here in Dwayne Dixon. But yeah, pretty solid draft class overall in my opinion. So before regular season number 2, here is a look at the team. Cam Robinson, our new starting left tackle, hopefully outperforms Eric Fisher from last year. The rest of the offensive line is the same and looks very good. Jack Doyle, our number 1 tight end. I just signed Chris Herndon to be tight end number 2 and just fixed the depth chart. So this is super frustrating. I'm having to do this again, but I'll make sure everything is fixed. Carson Wentz in year number 2. Hopefully he takes a leap forward for us. Jonathan Taylor, Nyheim Hines in the backfield. Julio Jones with Michael Pittman on the outside, and we're going to throw Ford into the mix right away. I know he's a couple overalls lower than Antonio Brown, but 30-plus-year-old wide receiver versus 23-year-old rookie who has hidden dev. We want to feed Ford, and AB will be wideout number 4. As for the defense, Devondre Campbell, I hope helps out a ton, especially against the run. Happy with what he might bring to that linebacking core. Julian Blackmon, Kari Willis, 2 very good players. Cornerback group, we'll see. Kenny Moore going to be playing the nickel. I think he's still going to be a solid player for us, no doubt. And then Levi Wallace and Pat Pete will play on the outside. Dayo Odeyingbo and Kwity Paye still are defensive ends. This is a big year for them. We need pass rush more than anything else. DeForest Buckner and Stewart as our starting defensive tackles. And here's a look at the specialists. It's pretty much the same as you would expect. One thing I'm trying to do is make Connor Clark our number 2 rush D tackle. So in nickel sets, basically, it's Odeyingbo, Buckner, Clark, and Paye rushing the passer. Hopefully that helps generate some more sacks too. That would be awesome. But with all that taken care of, let's go ahead and simulate to the midseason point. Well, we have reached week 9 and things are not looking pretty. But hear me out. So we're 2-5. Last season we were 5-2, missed the playoffs. This time it's the reciprocal of that number. Maybe that leads us to the playoffs? Feels like I'm stretching. Here's a look at the division. Luckily enough for us, it's a pretty bad one. Jaguars, Texans, Titans all have 4 wins, but we're certainly not out of it. And here's a quick look at our stats. Number 15 offense, not bad. Carson Wentz, 12th in yards, 13th in touchdowns. Not terrible. 20th in regards to defensive yards allowed. And that's really the strength of this team. That's so weird. 16th in points per game. Julio Jones, fantastic season. Let's go. 14th in defensive points allowed. So that's not too bad either. Kind of weird. But with all that said, let's go ahead and look at some of our free agents this upcoming offseason. Going to be headlined by Darius Leonard. We know we want to keep him around. He's a stud. Braden Smith, we know we want to pay him. Nyheim Hines is interesting. There's always a lot of running backs available. So I'm not entirely sure we pay him $5 million a year. Antonio Brown can walk. He's fine. Pat Pete, if we want to bring him back, we'll do it in the offseason. Mark Lewinsky, he's a starter. Okay, stat-wise. Okay, wow. Got our hands full. Let's just go ahead and start jumping into it. Darius Leonard, we know we want to keep him around. With this contract, I'm going to bump it up just a notch, and it leaves us with $59 million in cap room, right length. He wants more money. I bumped up the offer, and he wants more money. Come on, Darius. You're killing me. Braden Smith, not going to bump up the offer if he's going to tell me he wants more. Okay, that's fine. Braden Smith, happy to have him back. That's awesome. Nyheim Hines, yeah, I don't know. It's only a 3.69 cap hit, I suppose. It's good to have that number 2 running back in Madden, just given how much work they have. He is a nice compliment to Jonathan Taylor. Fine. I guess I've talked myself into it. We made the offer. He accepts. We're keeping Nyheim Hines around. Mark Lewinsky could get better with run block and pass block power, but you see a lot of green on the screen right here. I mean, that's not too bad. 29 years old, not ideal. Maybe he'll accept a 1-year deal. Nah, he doesn't like anything about it. That's all right. We'll come back to it, and it's probably something that we address in the offseason, like free agency itself, and he just won't have any other interest from any other teams, hopefully, and we can get him on a 1-year deal. And I wasn't too worried about any of the other free agents, so we're 2-5. Let's simulate to the playoffs and pray that we somehow sneak in and get hot during the second half. So at the end of season number 2, we finished 5-11, so slightly better through the rest of the regular season, but still not great. And we finished at last place in the AFC South. Though I will say it's a good year to be bad because we have our first-round pick and our third-round pick for that matter. So could have been worse. Here's a quick look at the playoff picture. Browns and Cowboys, the number 1 seeds. Fantastic. You love to see it. And for stats, we finished with the number 13 offense. Carson Wentz, top 10 in passing yards, 18th in defense. Those are 2 categories where you would not think that team ends up at 5-11, but 22nd scoring offense, yeah, that would make you think so. And then 21st in defensive points allowed. Those numbers would make you think that team finished 5-11. It's an okay year for Carson Wentz. You know, QB rating got worse, more interceptions, a couple more touchdowns, more yards. So I'm still not crazy about him. 4.5 yards per carry, much more efficient season for Jonathan Taylor, nearly 1,000 yards, 7 touchdowns. Not too bad. A couple of fumbles here for Nyheim Hines. That's something to keep our eyes on moving forward. Julio Jones, fantastic year. 10 touchdowns, almost 1,200 yards. Michael Pittman, almost 950 yards, 8 tutties, 6 scores for Jack Doyle, 5 for Alexander Ford in his rookie year with 705 receiving yards. And AB, my guy, with 4 catches on the season. Sorry we signed you, but, it is what it is. 1 catch on the year for Jordan Thomas and Jet Anderson, both for touchdowns. That's efficient. And for the offensive line, let's see. Okay, Cam Robinson was a big-time improvement. Braden Smith kind of took a step back, giving up 9 sacks, but that's not why this team struggled. 100-plus tackles for Devondre Campbell and Bobby Okereke. Where is our guy Darius Leonard? Only 49 tackles. What? And he was sub-linebacker number 1, I'm pretty sure. I'll have to go back and check. Maybe it was Okereke and Campbell, which, if that was the case, that's probably a mistake on my end. Anyways, in regards to tackles for loss, 13 for Kwity Paye leads the way. That's something I like to see. Devondre Campbell, DeForest Buckner, and Connor Clark also all above 10. And for sacks, Devondre Campbell with a team-high 5.5, tied with Dayo Odengbo. That's not good. We need some pass rush on this team. 5 for Paye, 5 for Buckner. Gosh, 5 for Darius Leonard. So of his 49 tackles, 5 for sacks. Interesting. Connor Clark also had 4 picks, 3 picks for Bobby Okereke, 2 for Kari Willis, and then 1 for a handful of other players. And Rodrigo Blankenship, 85% on his 14 field goal attempts. We do not know enough scoring. What is going on? I went ahead and simulated the Super Bowl where it's going to be Pats and Saints. Wow. This feels like a Super Bowl matchup we were robbed of when it was like prime Tom Brady and prime Drew Brees, but you get it here in Madden 21 Super Bowl 56 of this Colts rebuild video. So there you go. That counts for something. NFL MVP is Patrick Mahomes. Coach of the Year, Sean McDermott, goes back-to-back like he's on the cover of Lethal Weapon. AFC Offensive Player of the Year is Pat Mahomes. Josh Allen right on his heels at number 2. Carson Wentz finished at 8, so that's an encouraging sign. Defensive Player of the Year goes to Tremaine Edmonds. Devondre Campbell finishes at 4th. Bobby Okereke at number 9. Offensive Rookie of the Year goes to Tyler Craig. Would have loved to see Ford come away with that, but can't hate. Ford's up to an 80 overall, so who's really winning there? And that should be it. Yeah, that's it for our Colts. Defensive Rookie of the Year goes to Ben Aiken. Remember that guy we were looking at drafting, that middle linebacker? Yeah, well, he won Defensive Rookie of the Year for the Chiefs. That's groovy, guys. And then Connor Clark finishes at 9th. So there you go, validation. Best quarterback goes to Patrick Mahomes. Carson Wentz finishes at 10th. Best running back goes to Nick Chubb. And this time Jonathan Taylor did place. He's at number 9. Best wide receiver. It went from Cole Beasley last year, who finishes 2nd. And then this year, it's Jamison Crowder. Interesting. Julio Jones, pretty sure he led the league in receiving yards. Finishes at 5, so sus. Best offensive line, Wyatt Teller, with Quentin Nelson finishing at 5th this season. Best D-line, Myles Garrett. Don't figure to see any of our players, and that would be a correct assumption. Best linebacker, Tremaine Edmonds. Devondre Campbell finishes 4th. Best DB, Kenny Vaccaro. How about this guy coming back and winning a Best DB award? No Colts. And for best kicker, it's Jason Sanders. And Rodrigo Blankenship finishes number 8. Not bad. I don't always remember to do this, but I want to take a look at some of the statistical leaders in the NFL since I talked about Julio Jones. I'm pretty sure he led the league in receiving or was at the top. Zach Wilson leads the NFL in passing yards, passing touchdowns. Doesn't go to Sam Ehlinger. Instead, it goes to Patrick Mahomes. Leading the league in rushing, it's Ezekiel Elliott every year. But oh my God, Nick Chubb. Dude, this always happens too. These Madden simulations love Nick Chubb tutties. They always get him into the 20 range. It's unbelievable. David Montgomery not too far behind at 15, tied with someone else who I can't remember now. Julio Jones was 2nd, beat out by Elijah Moore. Okay. Number 2 still, pretty good. Jamison Crowder, that's why he won the award. 1,100 yards, 15 touchdowns. Josh Reynolds, Titans fans would love to see that. 14 on the year. Tyreek Hill with 12. Tyler Craig, that's probably why he won Offensive Rookie of the Year. He had 12 as well. But yeah, I was just interested to see how some of these stats turned out throughout the rest of the league and give me an idea of where we stack up. Devondre Campbell led the league in tackles, so that explains why he was a Defensive Player of the Year candidate. Tackles for loss goes to J.J. Watt and Shaq Lawson. Quickly, look away. I can't believe I just saw Shaq Lawson at number 2. Sacks, the league leader, DeMarcus Lawrence, followed by Aaron Donald, Nick Bosa, Myles Garrett, Von Miller, and Olivier Vernon. Kind of interesting. Not disappointing Lions fans in this simulation. And picks, Roquan Smith with 6, Jaquiski Tart at 5, okay, and Akello Witherspoon at 5. Okay, this is so fun to see. Every time I do one of these sim videos, it just shows Madden Sim Engine is just cracked out, man. I have no validation, no understanding for why it does what it does, but it is always entertaining. Anyways, let's go ahead and get to offseason number 2. Here's a look at some of the retirements after the end of the 2021 season. Maybe I won't go that fast. Big Ben calls it quits. So does Richard Sherman. He went to the Rams. Wow. Rams fans, how would you feel about seeing Richard Sherman play for your team? I'd at least watch. There's no doubt. Rams are actually one of the teams I'm most excited to see this upcoming season. Outside of the Steelers, obviously. But the Rams are super interesting. And the Saints top the Pats 17-10. And they become Super Bowl champions. Let's go ahead and look at our free agents. Obviously, we know we want to bring back Darius Leonard. I got to make sure he's a sub linebacker next year because I guess he wasn't. But let's bump up the money a fair amount. Hopefully keep him around. Even though it's 5 years, it'll go into his progression. He thinks free agency is best for him, but I beg to differ. And I pay him $21 million, which is a ton for an off-ball linebacker. But he's a big part of the team, and we can't really afford to let him walk at a 92 overall. Pat Pete will wait. Mark Lewinsky, I remember we offered him a 1-year deal. He wasn't interested. Yeah, so at that point, probably not, bud. We'll make an offer here to Chris Herndon. He's not too expensive. 3 years. I'm comfortable with him being tight end number 2. Unfortunately, a guy who just never figured it out in real life. Maybe he'll turn it around this year, though. Still time to be had. But with all that taken care of, let's go ahead and jump into actual free agency. So only about $15 million to play with, and there are some big-time free agents I'd love to offer all my money to, like Jair Alexander. We could use the number 1 corner, but I signed him in a ton of these videos, so I'm not going to do it this time, though I think we could afford it, and he would be fantastic, obviously. Harrison Smith's a fun one. Von Miller, maybe kicking him down to play defensive end. I think he could do it in a 4-3. He's good enough. I also signed Marcus Davenport in past videos, but he might be somebody we consider bringing in. Leighton Vander Esch has no offers right now, even though Devondre Campbell's coming off a career season. Chris Barnes, he's better than Devondre Campbell. Interesting. I wonder if we can get out of that Campbell contract. So we actually could cut Devondre Campbell and save $3.72 million. Interesting. Won't do it right now, but might be something we come back to. A couple other moves we could make. I could cut Kenny Moore, but he's our best corner, so that would probably be a foolish decision. And not a whole other moves we could make. But we might come back to the Devondre Campbell cut and potentially find somebody who's a higher overall. So starting with Mark Lewinsky, he is the #1 overall guard on the market. So if he takes this 1-year deal, 92 points, which I think he will, I'd love to have him back. He's a starting level player, and he would be a big plus. So Deo Odengbo's up to a 75 overall, and then Kwity Paye's at a 77, but I'm just not entirely sure. We could use one of them as like a rush D tackle, maybe Odengbo, but I'm kind of liking the idea of potentially signing Marcus Davenport. It would take about all the money we have left, but star dev, he's a productive player in Madden. Can't quite afford Von Miller, but definitely some good players we could think about bringing in. So I offered a contract to Marcus Davenport. It was only 62 points, and I assume he'll get a better offer once we get to stage 2 or something like that of free agency. So now I look at outside cornerback, and that's probably the next biggest need, and I think that might just have to be where we go. We could go outside corner and then maybe linebacker, and then just hope that improves the defense enough. Trey Flowers may not be all that good in real life, but he's got a good frame. He's about to get an upgrade and only 27 years old. I'll make this contract offer to him, and then I think I'm going to go to one of these linebackers. Neither one of them have a ton of interest. Maybe I could steal one away. Leighton Vander Esch is always an absolute dog in this game. Let me see how many points this offer is. 59. Yeah, I'm going to go cut Devondre Campbell and basically give Leighton Vander Esch all the rest of our money. Also, if you were wondering, part of the reason I want to move on from Devondre Campbell is because he's 29 years old. Leighton Vander Esch is 26. I bumped it up to a 4-year contract, and I guess the money didn't adjust, so let's go ahead and do that now. Let's put some more into the signing bonus, put it at $3 million exact. Leaves us with $2 million to play around with. 99 points in the offer, so he's better, he's younger, and he also has the star dev that Campbell had as well, and that's pretty much all we're going to do for this first stage at least. So at the end of stage 1, we have an accepted contract from Mark Lewinsky, Trey Flowers, and Leighton Vander Esch. We go 3 for 3 on our targets. That's fantastic. Not much cap room left, and I don't know if there's anything else we could do. Here's a quick glance at who signed where, but we'll go over that again at the end. Now some teams jumping in for Jair Alexander and for Marcus Davenport. So we would have lost that battle anyway, so I'm glad we went ahead and changed our focus as opposed to giving Davenport a bad offer. He rejects it, and then the guys who sign elsewhere. So I think that ultimately worked out for the best for us. And with only $720K left to our team budget, we're going to go ahead and just simulate throughout the rest of free agency. We have no 5th-year option, so yeah, the next thing you'll see is the free agency recap. So here is who is still out on the market. MVS, kind of an interesting option. A couple of kickers, Traquan Smith, Rashard Higgins, the usual suspects. We only made 3 signings, but one definitely big one in Leighton Vander Esch. I think him and Darius Leonard as our sub-linebackers is lethal. Trey Flowers is going to start on the outside, him and Levi Wallace. That allows Kenny Moore to continue to play in the slot. Mark Lewinsky re-signs. Jair Alexander goes to LA. Oh my gosh. With Asante Samuel Jr. I wish the Packers had drafted Asante Samuel Jr. if they wanted a corner in the first round. Those 2 guys playing together would be so fun to watch. Harrison Smith goes to the Washington football team, as does Von Miller. They lose Deron Payne to Seattle. Baker Mayfield is going to New York. Michael Gallup to Vegas. Wow. So is Mike McGlinchey. Barnes is going to Tampa. Wow. This was a much better... hold on. Tom Brady going back to the Patriots. Oh my gosh. I've seen it all. Man, yeah, this was a way better free agency crop. And because of it, big moves were made. And I'm excited to see what that means for the rest of this rebuild video. Also, a huge plus for us is that we have the number 3 overall pick in the NFL draft. So let's go ahead and simulate to our pick as the Falcons throw us a bone and take a 69 overall, nice left guard at the number 2 overall pick. Let's go. Just bless up. That was just an absolute blessing being handed to us. Oh, and there's a couple of edge rushers at the top of the board. I don't know if I'm going to be able to pass on them. Mid-first round talent for Marcus Johnson. That's not necessarily ideal. We could trade back. That could certainly be in play here. Early first round talent safety. Kari Willis is good, but man, Rudy Tutt kind of looks like an absolute dog. Just signed Leighton Vander Esch and late first round talent. So despite Eric Johnson being a good athlete, I think we'll go somewhere else. Could go corner. I think we could definitely continue to improve there. Have another edge rusher here. Early first round talent, but not great athletic traits for Ramon Kennedy. Interesting. 6'2", 266. I don't think Tom Woodbury will be able to play D end. Could get a Notre Dame quarterback. That's never gone wrong before. Also, here's another defensive end. Early first round talent, slightly better athlete in Keyshawn Richards. I'm going to go through some more of these options and I'll let you know what I'm thinking. All right, so I think I have made my decision. Early first round talent, Keyshawn Richards. I think he's the best pass rusher. But I'm going to also trade back into the first round. It's a slight reach for Richards because there was a cornerback I really liked and caught my eye. Good solid skill set. I think Richards is going to be a day one starter over Odengbo, and then we'll move Odengbo to rush D tackle. We just need to find a way to improve. But I'm going to go ahead and try to pull off a pick, moving up from the third pick in the second round back into the first to get that corner. All right, the Cowboys' number one need is right end. Connor Clark, sorry, but we're not going to need you at that rush D tackle spot. This would allow us to move up, 5, 6 picks? And okay, I guess we have to give up our 7th round pick, but that is fine. That gets us back to the first round. And this is right around where that corner is projected, but he's an early first round talent, so might end up regretting this, but I'm trying to be aggressive. And unfortunately, that cornerback is off the board. We'll have to pivot here, but I do have a backup plan in place. Not necessarily in love with doing this because it's like taking a tight end in the first round. Not ideal. But I think that's what we're going to do. There's a couple of safeties that are okay, but first round talent tight end looks to be pretty darn good. Terrell Rodriguez, also a good frame, solid athlete. Definitely an improvement over Trey Burton. Hopefully it helps elevate the offense as much as a tight end can. So it really is disappointing that cornerback was not on the board, but there were a few other corners that caught my eye, namely Freddie Dockery here. Very fast, man-to-man corner, mid-second round talent. We'll go ahead and take him here with our 3rd round pick. Good value and good speed. Okay man, I suppose, but definitely just a depth player for right now. So one of the few players left that I still like and might be able to use moving forward, Matthew Charlton. He's an okay, good value, 23 years old, player from Duke, maybe a Lewinsky replacement in a year's time. Yeah, not with those stats. He is not going to be ready in 1 year's time, but not much else we could really do with that pick. I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to the computer to take it the rest of the way. So here's a recap of our draft class. Keyshawn Richards, a day one starter for us. That's awesome. Also an upgrade at tight end. And then a bunch of depth players for the rest of our class. And overall, it looks to be a really solid draft class in general. Running back, number one player at 81 overall. And this was the corner I was trying to take. 23 years old, 78. Luckily enough, just normal dev, so I'm not missing out on a whole lot, but really solid skill set to go with it. Ramon Kennedy was somebody I considered taking. He's got hidden dev. Oh, if it wasn't the player we took, it was going to be Kennedy because he had a good combine, or he was an early first round talent. He has a good skill set and that hidden dev. That absolutely tears me to pieces. Dobbins, Tutt was somebody we considered. And then here's Keyshawn Richards, who we took. So a couple overalls lower and normal dev. That is an L. So we've made it to regular season number 3. Here is a look at the team. Offensive line's the exact same. We're going to get Rodriguez in at tight end number 1 over Jack Doyle. Also, Ford has superstar development. That is fantastic. He put up an awesome season last year. Mid and elite. Let's see if we can switch that out. Let's go with route tech. That's nasty on Ultimate Team. That's how I make my decisions, obviously. But Julio Jones, Michael Pittman, and Ford, studs. Taylor, Hines, getting it done. Also, Khalil Herbert at running back 3, not bad. Carson Wentz out of 79 overall. Haven't quite hit the levels of play I'd like to see him get to. Leighton Vander Esch with Bobby Okereke and Darius Leonard. Very solid linebacking core. Kari Willis, Blackman, still doing their thing. Kenny Moore's going to be our slot corner, Trey Flowers, Levi Wallace on the outside. Richards, who we took at number 3 overall, is going to be a starting right end with Quiddy Pay now moving to left end. Buckner and Stewart in between them. Here's the special teams if you care. And here are the specialists. Moore, Ford, just as you expect. Hines, Taylor, Pay with Richards, Buckner, Odengbo as the rush D tackles, Leonard. Made sure Leonard was sub linebacker with Leighton Vander Esch. And now we can jump into regular season number 3. Well, we make it to week 9 and we have 2 frustrated players and 2 potential breakout players. All right, all to the sound of a 3-4 record. Good news is this is a terrible division, and 3-4 puts us at a 3-way tie for first place in the AFC South. When it comes to the stats, we have the number 22 offense in regards to yards. Carson Wentz 7th in touchdowns, that's good. 11th in defensive yards, that's much improved. Comes down to the scoring though, 14th in points, pretty good. And the defense is at 11th. So this is the best we've seen the team rate, at this point of the year when it comes to stats. So that's a welcome sign. Let's go ahead and look at some of our soon-to-be potential free agents. Well, a couple of huge ones off the rip, and Quentin Nelson, Darius Leonard, also Bobby Okereke, Kari Willis, Cam Robinson. Levi Wallace is probably expendable. Eddie Pinheiro, we need a kicker. I accidentally let Rodrigo Blankenship leave. That's on me. Always forget about the special teams. Mark Lewinsky, the other starting guard. Jack Doyle we can move on from. And wow. Very top heavy. Let's go ahead and start talking to Quentin Nelson. He's 26 years old. I'm comfortable making this a 4-year deal, bumping up the money. He's the best guard in football. I say over and over and over again. He's excited to stick around. Darius Leonard, considering I gave him a $21 million franchise tag, kind of wish we had that $5 million that we could have used this offseason to sign a couple other players. Likes the contract length, but wants more money. At this point, if he wants to walk, he can walk. Whatever. You're not going to get that much interest on the open market in Madden for whatever reason. Also, we have Bobby Okereke, who is a very solid player himself, and that's probably a little too much money for him. And he declines it, so we'll think about that. I kind of was just on autopilot there, but I don't know about an 83 overall with Star Dev making $12 million a year at off-ball linebacker. That feels a little too pricey for me. And for Kari Willis, I don't know. I think we're just going to be able to do better. He's only an 80 overall. He's not asking for a ton, but it feels like a position I've been putting off because I've been saying Willis is okay, and he wants more money too. So, jeez, these guys are killing me. Cam Robinson's been pretty darn good, though. So, 2-year contract. I'll make him the offer he's looking for, and he can't wait till next year. Thank you, Cam, for being reasonable and taking my contract offer. But that's all I want to handle for right now. So let's go ahead and simulate towards the playoffs and hope we can make it as a wildcard team, just maybe. So we end the regular season with a 5-point win and a shootout against the Ravens. That's awesome, but practice players have been signed. We did not make the playoffs yet again. Finished with a winning record, though, so that's the first time we've been above 500 in the series. So we're starting to make some progress, slowly but surely. 1 game back of the Tennessee Titans. Let's take a look at the stats. A little bit more in depth this time. 14th in regards to offensive yards. The defense finishes at 16th. Again, that's probably the best split we've seen so far. Offensive scoring, top 10. You love to see that. The defense finishes at 12th. I mean, this is by far the best season we've put together so far. Carson Wentz finally a QB rating up and over 100. Almost a 3-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio. Almost 4,100 yards passing. Another 1,000-yard season for Jonathan Taylor and 13 touchdowns. That is fantastic. Julio Jones back and up and over 1,000 yards, 5 touchdowns. Alexander Ford finds the end zone 8 times, and Terrell Rodriguez finds it 9. Nice. Welcome to the NFL, rookie tight end Michael Pittman. Has an okay season, I suppose. The offensive line, Cam Robinson was at 14 sacks. I'm glad I extended him. That's awesome. Leighton Vander Esch and Darius Leonard both over 100 tackles on the year. Team leader in tackles for loss is DeForest Buckner with 12. Hit the button a couple times too many. Bobby Okereke with 9. And Buckner led the team in sacks with 14. Back to the production we're used to seeing. Quiddy Pay with 5.5 and Richards with 3. This team is driving me insane with the inability to get to the quarterback. 4 picks for Kenny Moore. That's awesome. Julian Blackman had 4 as well. Kari Wills with 3 as I was trying to get rid of him. Leighton Vander Esch with 2. And Quiddy Pay had 1. Right on. That is fantastic. And Eddie Pinheiro was fine. Super Bowl 57, it's Browns and Cowboys playing in the big game. How fun is that? Here's a look at the playoff picture for those who may care to see it. And now let's go through the award winners. Despite a 6-10 record, Lamar Jackson comes away with NFL MVP. Carson Wentz finished at 9th. Not bad. Coach of the Year goes to Kevin Stefanski. Figure you won't see Doug Peterson on here. You will, or not Doug Peterson. You definitely won't see him. Frank Reich, you will not see him either. AFC Offensive Player of the Year is Lamar Jackson. Any Colts? Yep, Carson Wentz is there at 8. Defensive Player of the Year goes to Patrick Queen, the Ravens. 6-10, but coming away with both the Player of the Year's awards. Interesting. Leighton Vander Esch finishes at 6. A couple of Steelers ran out the list. Love to see that. Offensive Rookie of the Year, Terrell Rodriguez, just edged out by Doug Galvin. Would love to see him come away with that Rookie of the Year win. Defensive Rookie of the Year, do have a Colt there. It's Keyshawn Richards. He only had 3 sacks, so that's kind of interesting. Ramon Kennedy, the guy I should have taken, comes away with the award. I'm 0 for 2 on that this video. Lamar Jackson's the best QB. Sorry, I thought I saw something else. But Carson Wentz finishes at 6. Nick Chubb, best running back. Go figure. Jonathan Taylor is at 6. Best wide receiver, back-to-back, goes Jamison Crowder. No Colts. Best offensive line, Quentin Nelson finishes at number 2 behind Wyatt Teller again. DeForest Buckner, best defensive lineman, or finishes 2nd behind Bobby Petty. Best linebacker goes to Patrick Queen. Leighton Vander Esch is at 8. Best TV, Xavier Howard. And the best kicker is Jason Myers. Also, before we get into free agency and looking at our impending free agents, I decided to make this team a 3-4. I don't know how great of a fit it really is, but Buckner there at D-tackle. Honestly, actually, I'm going to move Buckner to right end and move Stewart back to D-tackle, have Stewart be more of a nose, Buckner as a defensive end. Dayo Odengbo is going to play left end, and then no Bobby Okereke. I've decided we're not going to bring him back. Instead, Keyshawn Richards is going to be an outside linebacker, as is Kwity Paye. I like them both as 4-3 ends more, but I feel like it's a Madden thing. Sorry if you hear that. There's something going on outside my apartment. But Paye and Richards could be 3-4 outside linebackers, and then Darius Leonard, Leighton Vander Esch, the nastiest inside linebacker duo. I basically just want to try it out to see how more potent a 3-4 is versus a 4-3 in Madden. So the Browns won that Super Bowl for those who might have been wondering, and here are the 2022 retirements. Cam Hayward, Justin Houston, Melvin Ingram, interesting, a lot of defensive ends. Steven Gostkowski, Gerald McCoy, a couple of big name, recognizable names. Janoris Jenkins, I don't know what the difference between big name and recognizable names would be. But anyways, I'm dumb, and we move on. So once again, here's a look at our free agents. I've already decided Bobby Okereke, we don't have a spot for him. He's not going to fit as a pass rusher in our defense. So instead, Darius Leonard is the point of emphasis for this offseason. 6 years is kind of long for a guy who's already 28 years old. But I'll go ahead and bump up the money just slightly. If he wants to be a pain and go to free agency, which he does, fine. But we'll deal with it later, depending on this franchise tag. Yeah, $21 million. It's all right. We'll sign him in free agency and compete against other teams. And overall, I don't really feel like giving him a 6-year contract anyway, so that's fine. Bobby Okereke, yep, not bringing him back. Corey Willis had a good season, so minimum good depth as a backup safety. So I guess let's bump up the money some because that's what he said he wanted. He's going to head to free agency. I don't know what I did to wrong these players, but they don't want to play for me anymore, and that's, whatever. Mark Lewinsky, he wants a 1-year deal. Let's just wait till we see what the open market has to offer, and then everybody else are backups. So let's go ahead and move on to free agency. Man, what do you know? Darius Leonard, no offers. So let's go ahead and make a 4-year contract offer. I'm very comfortable with this. 92 points. Let's go ahead and bring you back to Indy, Darius. Quit being annoying. We're also down a few corners, and I'm going to go ahead and just be aggressive. Let's go out there and get some of the top guys on the market. Sean Murphy-Bunting looks like a stellar player. Love to give him a 3-year deal. That's 95 points. We could also get his Buccaneers teammate, Jamel Dean, but let's keep it slightly realistic. Do need another outside corner. Maybe somebody maybe we just bring Trey Flowers back. I don't hate that. His coverage stats aren't too bad. And on a 1-year deal, it feels pretty realistic. He's fine as a number 2 outside corner. 92 points and allows us to spend money elsewhere too. A number 2 tight end would be nice, and Jay Sternberger is okay. Pretty young player. I'm not giving him a 3-year contract, and I'm not giving him this much money either. But regardless, 2-year deal. Feel comfortable with bringing him as our new tight end number 2. And here's Mark Lewinsky, and here's the rest of the right guard market. So glad we waited a little bit. Lewinsky is the same age as everybody else, but Kevin Zeitler's always a stud in Madden. Always is really well balanced when it comes to his ratings. Actually, his run block numbers have fallen off just a little bit. Weston Richburg, he should be a very well-rounded option, and that's kind of what I look for in these players. A little low in the pass block finesse, but overall, nice even skill set. So we're his only offer, so let's lower that sum. So we have $3.3 million left in cap room, like that deal we offered there to Richburg. And we're a little low on money, but right now Khari Willis has no offers. We could also go after someone like Julian Love, who wouldn't hate bringing him in. He's actually a couple years younger than Khari Willis, but for the role that Willis plays, he plays it pretty darn well. 80 hit power. Actually, you know what? Just for fun, let's see what Julian Love has. I'm a Notre Dame fan, so never really thought of him as a hard hitter. Yeah, that's kind of what I thought. I think of him more as a free safety than I do a strong, but that's me. I sit on my couch and record videos for a living. Or not for a living, but anyways, let's talk about Khari Willis. Let's get back on track here. 53 points in the offer. Not great. May go look through the roster and see where we could potentially get some more money. All right, so hear me out. I'm going to do what I think the Browns are actually about to do with Sheldon Richardson. We're going to cut Grover Stewart, and it's going to free up $9.38 million. Fantastic. We're going to go ahead and re-sign him at a cheaper mark, and then that'll allow us to have a little bit more money to bump up the offer to Khari Willis, at least in theory. So actually, considering Poona Ford's slightly younger, contract demand's pretty much the same. It's just over 2 years instead of 1. I think he is going to be my move. There's actually a decent amount of D tackles, so actually really don't hate the idea of moving on from Grover Stewart in general. Let's go ahead and stretch this out to a 3-year deal. Lower the money slightly so we can get back to what we were hoping to have by saving some money by moving on from Stewart. We can make it 3 years, $24 million even, and that is an 80-point offer. He has no other interest. I feel confident we can get that done. And that in turn lets us add some money to this offer to Khari Willis. Then also leaves us with about $1.5 million, 70-point offer. Let's go ahead and raise it just a little bit more, just to play it safe. Bump it up at $856K. This should take us to the 90. Actually, it did not go up very much. Khari Willis is playing hardball. So I put more of the money in signing bonus, and it's up to a 91-point offer as opposed to 71. So player interest there. Looks like we'll be bringing Khari Willis back. So as long as we get Poona Ford, my grand scheme has paid off. Let's see if it does as we advance to stage 2. So Khari Willis did accept that contract, as did Weston Richburg, pardon me. Darius Leonard's also coming back. Awesome. We signed a fullback. I was just tired of putting tight ends there. Trey Flowers is returning, as is Sean Murphy Bunting. Awesome. That is a huge signing. That leaves just Poona Ford. So hopefully nobody else jumped in. And Jay Steinberger, but like whatever. Poona Ford, let's go ahead and bump up this signing bonus to just a little bit. Looks like we have more money now in cap. That's cool. Bumped up the offer to 83 points, so it didn't make a huge difference, but maybe it's enough to bring this to a close at the end of Stage 2 before other teams start jumping in and vulture him away. At the end of Stage 3, Chase Sternberger says yes, no 5th-year option to pick up. Poona Ford, man, you're being kind of a pain in my neck, if I'm being honest with you. This offer is in the green. Like, quit being greedy, take the money, and let's go win a ring. 84 points. That is more than enough. You have no other teams talking to you. All right, let's advance to stage 4. Okay, finally. The national scene that Poona Ford has caused has finally come to a close. Let's advance and show you the free agency recap. Here are the players that are still available. Damian Harris is actually kind of an interesting one. Christian Wilkins, that's kind of surprising too, but he's down to normal dev at this point in the game, so maybe that's why. Calais Campbell was in there too. But here's our signings. We brought back Darius Leonard, as well as Khari Willis, Trey Flowers, and then new signings are Reggie Gillum, Jay Sternberger, Weston Richburg, Poona Ford, and the big one being Sean Murphy Bunting. This was our super successful free agency period. Kareem Hunt's headed out to the Bay Area. Jarvis Landry teaming up with Tom Brady in New England, as is Rashawn Gary. Other side of the football, though. Sidney Jones, star dev, is going to the Jets. J.C. Treader going to Philly. Jamel Dean's going to Baltimore. Tony Pollard's going to Pittsburgh. David Onyemata going there with him. Sheldon Richardson to the Bears. Blah, blah, blah. You get an idea. You don't need me to voice over all this. Pretty good free agency class again. But let's go ahead and jump into the NFL draft now. Actually, real quick, we have the number 18 pick, but that last free agent I saw signed was Daniel Jones going to the Vikings. Kirk Cousins 2.0 question mark? Kind of funny. And then the Vikings go QB here. Whoa, I'm glad I mentioned this. They go sign Daniel Jones and they draft Colin Coleman, who 75 overall. That is insane for a Madden rookie. All right, Minnesota. So overall, we have a pretty good roster with not a whole lot of holes, but at the same time, we definitely need to get better at certain spots. Jay Griffith looks to be a pretty good guard. I don't really feel like taking one in the first round. Wide receiver, I think we're doing okay at that spot. Free safety. We have Blackman, but we could shift him over to the other safety spot. I don't know. Could go get a corner and just basically bump one of the guys out of the rotation. His name escapes me. Just sign him to a one-year deal. Whatever. We'll look at it later. Another free safety here. Anyways, I'm going to go over these options, and Quan Lippett, by the way, might be the one to go with, but I'll go over some of these options and let you know what I'm thinking. Man, if we were still on a 4-3, Stephen Arrington would be an absolute dog. I've never seen this. First in every combine report, or every part of the combine. What? This dude is insane. Yeah, I think our move here is going to be Quan Lippett. 4.31 40 time. Mid-first round talent. We're taking him here at pick number 18. And then we'll shift over Blackman or maybe even Lippett. Let's look at what the skill set looks like. Pretty accurate value. 83 hit power. Not great zone. I'm kind of thinking about playing him at strong instead. And maybe just bumping Kari Willis down to backup. I don't know. He is a rookie, so maybe I should just wait a year, roll with Kari Willis one more time. But we're about to get into the last regular season, so not entirely sure what I want to do here. But Quan Lippett looks pretty darn good. Here in the second round, we can go get a tight end again after that move failed me in the last draft. But definitely some good players still left on the board. I'll tell you what we're thinking here in 1 second. Well, this one's an easy one. I was looking at some D tackles. 6'3", man-to-man, early first-round talent corner, fourth-round projection, sprinting the card in, man and zone in his top 3 skill sets. Number 5 player in the class. We took him at number 50. Fantastic value. Don't know if he necessarily sees the field. We might play him over the guy whose name continues to escape me. But, all right. Well, that was an easy pick. And, I mean, another first-round talent available here in the third. We're taking Mitch Gregory. He's a left end. We're going to bump him back to outside linebacker and minimum. Nice rotation option between him, Richards, and Kwity Paye. But, wow, just fantastic value with Aaron Gregory. Guys, you can't make this up. I mean, the hits keep on coming. A couple of first-round players still on the board. Darnell Ramsey, late first-round defensive tackle, as well as Ja'Cory Stoudemire, late first round, like his 40. They're both run stoppers, right? Yes, they are. Let's go take Stoudemire. Why not? Liked his 40 time. Number 31 player in the class, 72 overall. He's just a backup, but with us moving Buckner over to right end, we could use a backup player behind Poona Ford. And here in the 5th round, I'm actually going to go and take a tight end, memes aside. But Walt Bennett will be a good number 2 tight end. And he's got hidden dev, so there you go. We take a hidden dev tight end that nobody else can have now. Number 57 player in the class. Good speed, solid catching. Need to work in the route running, but not terrible. And now I'm going to go ahead and just let the computer take it the rest of the way. All right, so I think a pretty awesome draft. Quan Lippett, don't know if he'll see the field immediately, but Jimmy Farrow, great value. First round, late first round at that, but first round talent. Going to be a backup edge rusher. First round D tackle. I mean, between this draft and then how good our free agency was, I think this might have been our most productive offseason yet. At least probably since the very beginning of the video. Here's what the draft class looked like as a whole. Top player 58 overall. Just kidding. Edge rusher at number 1. Wide receiver went number 1. Emilio Cordova, 76 overall. Has hidden dev. The Jets. Get another weapon for their guy, Zach Wilson. 89 speed. It's kind of slow, but all right. And then here's our guy, Jimmy Farrow, 2nd round pick by far. I mean, an absolute steal. But so was Stephen Arrington, he was that linebacker we were looking at, the off-ball guy. Let's go ahead and look at his stats. 90 speed, hidden dev. That would have been nice. Any pass rushing ability? None whatsoever. So, yep, would not have fit for us. Could have played him at inside linebacker, but already pretty stacked there. Anyways, here's what the draft class looked like. And let me go ahead and show you the depth chart now. So before we get into our final regular season of the video, here is a look at the depth chart. Quentin Nelson up to a 99 overall. What an absolute dog. Carson Wentz still sitting at a 79. That's not great. Julio Jones has dropped down to a 92, but him, Ford, Michael Pittman Jr., definitely still getting the job done. Taylor, Hines, very good. The offensive line, solid. Rodriguez, Jay Sternberger, the 2 tight ends. As for the defense, I'm excited to see what this 3-4 looks like. Odengbo, Buckner at the defensive end spots, Poona Ford and Stoudemire at the defensive tackle spots. But Leonard and Van Der Esch at the inside linebacker positions, that's lethal. Richards, Pay, like that duo. Blackman, and then I decided to go ahead and let Carr Willis continue to start it strong with Lippett right behind both of those safeties, so hopefully he can get a lot of different reps and opportunities still. Kenny Moore's got superstar development now. Sean Murphy, Bunting, and Faro is going to play on the outside. I swear we re-signed Trey Flowers. That was the name I couldn't think of earlier, but that, former Seattle corner, but I guess we didn't. So Faro and Bunting, Murphy Bunting on the outside, Kenny Moore in the nickel. And speaking of that, let's just go ahead and show you our specialists. Kenny Moore, Ford, same there. I'm going to go ahead and make Jonathan Taylor the third down running back. I just figure on those shotgun plays, that might have been Hines taking away touches for Taylor, which I don't want have happening. Richards, Pay, the rush defensive ends. We kick Buckner back to rush D tackle on passing situations with Deo Dengbo next to him. Darius Leonard, Lane Van Der Esch, and then Lippett as our third sub linebacker. I'm excited. We went 9-7 at the end of last regular season. I think this is the year we can make the playoffs. And at the midseason point, we're 3-4, which is not ideal. But the Texans at 4-3 hopefully signals, and it is the case, a pretty weak AFC South. So we win against the Texans, and we're in a position to be in a tie for first place. So that's fantastic. Before I show you the stats, let's go ahead and look. I mean, this is our last regular season, so we're not going to bother with it. But here's who would have been free agents. Julio Jones, probably not bringing him back just given his age. But it depends on the regression. Jonathan Taylor, we definitely would have re-signed him. And then Kenny Moore, especially on a one-year deal, we would have definitely brought him back. Julian Blackman, probably would have, almost assuredly would have re-signed him. Michael Pittman, we'd bring him back, especially at this deal. Hold on. I mean, it's not our problem to deal with, but that is just an unreal cheap contract. And also, look, it leaves us with $90 million in cap room. That is unbelievable. And a big reason why is Carson Wentz. We would move on from him. He has been a big disappointment. He has not gone back to MVP level play. And I think he's a big reason why we continue to struggle to even make the playoffs. Kwity Paye, especially at a 79 overall, only 23 years old, we'd certainly re-sign him. Deo Adengbo as well. I think this is an error because I never got a fifth-year option for Paye. And I don't even think it's been 4 years since we got Odengbo. Maybe it has been. I guess we do 4 regular seasons, but should have had a fifth-year option on Paye. Anyways, doesn't really matter. Weston Richburg, we would have considered bringing him back. And then, Sean Davis, and then a bunch of backups the rest of the way. But would have been a fun offseason, but that's not my headache to have today. Let's go ahead and look at these stats thus far into our final regular season. Carson Wentz looking like a bum. Number 30 offense in regards to yards. 20th for defense. Even Jonathan Taylor is not having a very productive season. 31st in scoring. We also have had our bye week, so maybe that's altering some of these numbers. 23rd in scoring defense. Man, I did so many different things, and it looks like the 3-4 is not working as much as I hoped that it would. Oh well, let's simulate to the playoffs and hope we can get hot and sneak in like we kind of got hot at the end of last year. We end the regular season with a 14-7 win over the Pittsburgh Steelers, but we did not make the playoffs any of these seasons. I'm an absolute failure, but I think that's just a sign of things to come. Sorry, Colts fans. I really don't know how much you should expect from this team moving forward. Here's the 2023 NFL playoff picture if you care. Let's just go ahead and simulate to the end of the year, and we'll look over the stats and close this video out. Cardinals, Bengals, Super Bowl, Zach Taylor, Cliff Kingsbury. You can sign me up for all that offense. That'd be fun. Pat Mahomes wins our final MVP award with Zach Taylor winning Coach of the Year. I have a video coming out here soon about coaches on the hot seat, and Zach Taylor's one of them, so that's kind of funny. Offensive Rookie of the Year is Pat Mahomes, no Colts. Defensive Player of the Year, Miles Jack, and again, no Colts. Offensive Rookie of the Year, Bradley Peterson of the New England Patriots, no Colts. Defensive Rookie of the Year, Harvey Bullwire, he was pretty good, or Bullware, excuse me. And then Jimmy Farrow was right behind him at number 2. And then even Mitch Gregory, our edge rushing steal out of Virginia Tech, finishes at 7. Pat Mahomes wins best QB, no shock there. No Carson Wentz, to no one's surprise. Josh Jacobs is the best running back. Jonathan Taylor ekes in at number 10. Best wide receiver goes to Tyreek Hill, followed by Rashad Bateman. That's kind of sick. And then also, Deontay Johnson, not in a Steelers uniform. Kind of a gross sight, in my opinion. Best offensive lineman, Ronnie Stanley, and Quentin Nelson finishes second. Best defensive lineman is Myles Garrett. DeForest Buckner finishes fifth. Best linebacker is Quan Alexander. Injuries turned off. That's what he can do. Best DB, Marlon Humphrey. Definitely an underrated corner in my eyes. Best kicker is Justin Tucker. That should be a award he wins every year. And here were the stats. The worst season by far of Carson Wentz so far. I mean, Sam Allen going to put up a better QB rating, obviously, in much smaller sample size, but Wentz was what held us back, no doubt about it, in my opinion. Jonathan Taylor, 4.1 yards a carry, 7 touchdowns, pretty good season. Alexander Ford, pretty productive year. Julio with only 2 touchdowns. This is a very Julio stat line, except if you made it like 1,600 yards and 100 catches, but only 2 touchdowns. For our, nobody really cares about the offensive line. For our defense, both our inside linebackers get up and above the century mark. Tackles for loss, leading the way, DeForest Buckner with Pay and Odengbo, also in double figures. 12 sacks for Buckner. That leads the team. Pay with 6. That's a career high. And Deo Odengbo also picks up 6, moving forward with 5.5. Richards continues to be a disappointment with just 2. Saw Darius Leonard, team high, 4 interceptions. Kenny Moore, Sean Murphy, Bunting each get 2, and then a handful of guys get 1. And our kicker, Eddie Pinheiro, was not great. I am sorry, Colts fans, I couldn't take you to the promised land and win you a Super Bowl, but that's just kind of how I think it's going to play out over the next few years. But I know I have Julio Jones in the thumbnail almost assuredly, and you're thinking, oh, the Colts are going to win a Super Bowl in this rebuild, and I failed miserably, and that is all on me. But that is going to do it for the video. Here's a final look at the offense, and here is the defense. Hopefully you all enjoyed the video. If you did, please hit that like button. It would help me out a ton. And if you're new to the channel, want more sports content in your life, please consider subscribing and comment down in the comment section. Tell me if you think the Colts will win a Super Bowl in the next 3 to 5 seasons. Obviously, I'm not convinced, but let me know what you think. I'd love to have that conversation with you down below. That's going to do it for this one. Hope you all have a fantastic rest of your day. And until next time, my name is Tej, and I am signing off.
I'm part of the last generation that remembers time of God. Jeez.